several other innovative processes in resource recovery and utilization, which has benefited many communities tremendously. I thought we would put our hands together. He was a consultant to UNDP, UNICEF, World Bank, several NGOs and government bodies and agencies. Professor Sridhar has traveled extensively, and he has visited many environmental management institutions and facilities in India, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, the Gambia, Lebanon, and the United States of America. He has trained various categories of people in environmental field. He has trained over 35 PhD students, more than 200 master's students, and many others. Professor Sridhar has published over 400 scientific papers in international journals, a dozen books, and several technical reports. He was awarded Outstanding Researcher Award 2016 by the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan. Join me this morning as we give a standing ovation to this professor of professors, our keynote speaker of today, Professor Mainepali K.C. Sridhar. You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. The chairman of the occasion, my good friend Professor Ojo, who has been always constantly in touch with me, and several other colleagues who I knew I was with them, but I didn't remember. But now today it is a bit refreshing to know that some of them have been with me for a long time, and we are still continuing. So today, in the next 30 minutes or so, I will be talking to you something about the topic of the research and the activities we have been doing, particularly in the areas of environment and occupational health, and the relationship with the cancers. We are so much worried about cancers. Besides cancers, we have a lot of other health problems. In fact, if you look back, as already Professor Ojo said, 25 to 40 to 50% of the diseases you can easily prevent by taking care of the environment. So you can imagine that cancer is only one of them, though it is the deadliest. And all of us know that what is cancer? It is simply uncontrolled growth of the cells. When the cells grow, in fact my professor used to say when I was studying, if a mouse or a small rat grows into an elephant, that becomes cancer. Because the amount of food you supply is not enough, and as a result of that, there is too much of demand on the body and the food and other things. As a result of that, cancer will grow to that extent. Globally, when you look at it, there are 12.7 million people are diagnosed with cancer. You can imagine that, even though what is the population of the world today is about 7 billion, 7.3 or so. And you can imagine that 12.7 million are suffering from cancer. And cancer is one thing, we never can imagine why it comes or how it comes or how it goes. In fact, there is one area I avoided for a long time to work with. Because the moment you take up the cancer as your focus of the research, you never know where you are going to end up. Because it is so prolonged and you have no clue, you have no solutions, and you keep going and you will not be known for anything. That is what still we are in the same position now. Our technology has improved. Our approach to the problems have improved. But still, cancer is cancer. We don't know why it is coming, how it is coming, how to control this. This is a very serious problem. Then if you look at the cancer also, is number 1 in the developed countries and number 2 in the developing countries. You can see the paradox of that. Developed countries, they have everything. They have money, they have activities, there are so many things, good life, quality of life is so good, and yet they suffer maximum. So when you look at this kind of factors now, you see why this cancer is coming and keeping with us, living with us for a long time. When you look back into the cancer, origin of the cancer, I think all of us, we cannot even imagine when it was. Practically, cancer started with human life. It has been with us for a long time. But popularly it became more well known, particularly from the slide you will see that Egyptian mummies. That is where they found out that cancer was responsible for the death, and they have preserved the bodies for such a long time, and they could easily trace that back to them. Now, when you look at the cancer beginnings, when it started in the whole world, it started with life, we agree. Then if you look at Hippocrates, the father of medicine, he is the one who mentioned all this long ago. You look at some of the philosophers of past, they had a vision. They had a kind of looking at things and then predict or analyze and then tell us cancer was known in those days. And yet we have not understood fully. So the credit goes to Hippocrates again. Then one nice book came up sometime very recently by the author Mukherjee. When you see into that, he has analyzed some of these, how the origin of the cancer has emerged. And then he has also analyzed, we have a lot of technologies developed. You have the technologies of 20th century, the 1940s, 1960s, and even in 1971, President Nixon also played a major role in the declaration of war against cancer. You can see that constantly and consciously we are keeping the cancer in our minds. And as we are advancing over the centuries, we are talking about it, reminiscing about it, and yet we have no solution. Now, when you look at the cancer figures, statistics are always scaring. Statistics are good, very important. Unless we know what it is, how many are suffering, we cannot plan. But when you look at the figures, what you find in this one, global estimates are about 14.1 million new cancer cases, then 8.2 million cancer deaths, and 32.6 million people living with cancer. Cancer doesn't end suddenly. It will come slowly, but you can predict when the life is going to be ended. So you can see that a majority of us are living in fear because cancer is unpredictable. And it can come anytime. That is why whenever you have some kind of problem, first of all, the doctors will tell you to go to CT scan and get all these things checked and so on. Until you know that you are not even diagnosed as cancerous. And once you are diagnosed, now you have to be careful. You have to take some treatment. So like that, the cancer goes on. Then, more incidence, male incidence rates may almost 5-fold across the female. Males suffer more than females. Why? We have no idea. One reason could be males are more engaged in the occupations, more movement, more in touch with the environment, or maybe more infected. So many problems we cannot even predict. So they are suffering more than the women. Then also we have more cancer cases in the low income groups. Low income groups is a very, very unfortunate thing. Why low income group? No proper food, no proper environment, no proper living, no proper housing. So when you can look at these kind of things, practically the cancer cause is a puzzle. It can be with the poor and as well as the rich, but it is a puzzle. Then, when you look at the Nigerian cancer figures, somebody else also said it before, 72,000 deaths in Nigeria every year, with an estimated 102,000 new cases of cancer annually. Then there are 5 different types of cancers which are very popular in Nigeria. And then approximately 50.3% of all cancer cases are common. So in America, 19% of all breast cancer cases result in death, whereas this percentage is 51% in Nigeria. You can see the disparity. When in America, with all the quality of life, 19% die, but in developing countries like Nigeria, we have 51% people die. And then the 5 types of cancers we are trying to talk about. One is carcinoma, another is sarcoma, third is myeloma, leukemia, and lymphoma. These are the 5 groups of cancers all of us are exposed to. Then the most common sites in which the cancer can be visible, they are on the skin. We call it a skin cancer. It can be in the lungs, female breasts, prostate, colon, and rectum, and uterus. These are the sites in which the cancer can be visible or shown up. Now, what are the environmental factors that cause cancer? That is where environment is very complex. We have so many components of environment. We have water, we have waste, we have air, we have food, all types of things. In addition to that, what we have is lifestyle. We want to live every day in the nice house with air conditioning, and we also buy a lot of things in the supermarkets, and we always are exposed to chemicals, and every day about thousands of chemicals are released into the market. And some of them are well known, but some of them are not well known. And most of these chemicals which are released into the environment, they remain in the environment, either in the water, or in the food, or in the air, and we are constantly exposed. Then there are also naturally occurring exposures. We are walking, we are going to the office or to the school, we are exposed to the sunlight. Sunlight is not that safe, even though sunlight is very important. Sunlight gives us vitamin D. At the same time, some of the exposure of sunlight by ultraviolet rays can also lead us to cancers. Then we also have radon. Radon is one study, very little is known in Nigeria. Luckily for me, one of my students is working on radon. She targeted her study in Ife University. And she found that radon comes from every house, from the ground. It goes up. In the trace quantities, we are inhaling every day the radon, we are exposed. That is, we have not noticed it much, but we are facing that every day. Then we have the infectious agents. All along we have been thinking that diseases can be communicable and non-communicable, infectious, non-infectious. But now there is also another theory that the infectious diseases can also lead to cancers. You can imagine. It can be a virus, it can be bacteria, it can be any kind of infection, you get it. Over a period of time when you are exposed, your body can no longer resist that and you are suffering from cancer. So that is how cancer became very complex. Then medical treatments. Anytime you are going to admit into a school or into college or in university, always they say, get your medical certificate, medical examination. And the moment you go to medical examination, the moment say, take X-ray of the chest, X-ray of your body. All these kind of things, you are unknowingly, you are exposed to the X-rays, and X-rays are not simple. They can complicate your body tissues and produce some reactions which can lead to cancers. That is a very important thing. Then you have the workplace. We are working in different places, industries, process industries, chemical industries, and quarries where they are cutting the stone for the building stones. Different types, even the teacher. When the teacher is talking with a chalk and board in the former days, but now we have the luxury of this. And you can see that everybody is exposed to a lot of hazards. And these hazards, unknowingly, they are affecting us. That's what workplace hazard, but so many types. Take any kind of occupation in the society, starting from barber to cobbler to shoe polisher to anybody, welder, mechanic, all types of people, they are exposed to some kind of activities that leads to that. And ultimately, we are also affected by pollution. Pollution again is vague. What kind of pollution? It can be physical, it can be chemical, it can be biological, so many types. It can be water pollution, it can be river pollution, it can be food contamination or air pollution. So you can see that pollution is again, like cancer, is also very wide, very vague. Then when you look at the cancer, how it comes, cancer incidence or the prevalence depends upon many factors. What you see is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factors can contribute to cancer. One is the age and the sex, family history. Suppose your grandma or grandfather has some cancer, your child or yourself are likely to get something. Then you have the diet and habits. They play a very, very prominent role. We don't anymore cook our food and eat in the house. We go to fast corners, fast restaurants. We take all these sophisticated junk food. You can call it as junk food. All these are loaded with a lot of chemicals, flavors, sweeteners, all colors. All these are carcinogenic. They can create cancer one way or the other. Then the lifestyle. You go to office, you have AC. You go to your church, you have AC. You go to anywhere, AC. We drive in the car, we have AC. So like that, our lifestyle also has gone tremendously. Then also medical history. Suppose you have suffered from some kind of disease earlier, you are likely to get cancer, possible. So medical history plays a very important role. Then environmental exposures. Every day, look at our own surroundings. Whether you are living in the high density area or medium density area or low density area, you are exposed constantly to different types of chemicals, pollutants. An open drain which is not clean, a lot of smell, a lot of hydrogen sulfide, methane, and different types of gases and chemicals, they are exposed, they are coming up, and we are all exposed regularly. Then we have the occupational exposures. You can look at all the occupations, welder, you will be welding something, all the metal, and is exposed, even though his eyes are more affected, but still he inhales a lot of fumes, where you get all the things. Then another most important devastating thing is people who are recycling. You throw away your batteries, somebody is picking up. You throw away your cell phone, somebody is picking up. All these people are now trying to do some kind of recycling activities, and these are releasing a lot of chemicals which are highly toxic and carcinogenic. So you can see that all these are the factors that can contribute to the cancer, and we should address from each angle. Now, built environment. When we talk about built environment, now we are all in the built environment. Though this looks very clean, very nice, we have a lot of space because of the COVID, but sometimes imagine that there may be a big congregation, then many more people will be gathered. Their own exhaled carbon dioxide, their own droplets, and they might have applied some kind of cream, or they might have applied some kind of cosmetics. All these are contributing to the chemicals which are again released into the environment. So you can see that water, soil and air and the entire surroundings, they are loaded with this. Now, carcinogens. We always call something which causes the cancer as carcinogen, the one that contributes to the cancer. What are those? We have a variety. You can see the list, all these bullets, what you see. You can see that dyes. All the clothes we are wearing, they're made up of dyes. And these dyes are mostly chemicals. There are natural dyes and chemicals. And we are preferring more chemicals because they last longer. And then similarly we have the chromates. We have the dinitrotoluenes. You go to a petrol station, you find the benzene, petrol, and then you find arsenic. Arsenic in Bangladesh is a very serious problem. It is coming from the groundwater. Everybody is drinking, and they're suffering from many diseases plus cancer, ultimately. Then we have the nickel compounds. Everybody is fond of eating something food made up of margarine. Margarine, when they're preparing it, they're using nickel as a catalyst. Even though nickel is removed, but still some traces are remaining in the margarine. That's why you get nice flavor. When you prepare your food with nickel catalyst contained in the margarine, the taste is different. That is why you always see that what you eat in the hotel is always different from what you are eating in your own home. That is why most of the people are tempted to go to restaurants or fast joints and then keep on eating. So like that now, you have a variety of these chemicals, almost like 1,000 chemicals every day. They're released by these chemists, scientists. So like that, now when you come to the top 5 cancers of greatest burden in Nigeria, you have the male and the female. For male, it is the prostate. If anybody is diagnosed with prostate cancer, and if he goes to surgery, I don't think he will be alive. I have seen many, even in Nigeria. I have seen many of my friends. They say, oh, I was diagnosed with prostate, maybe another year or two, they're gone. Then for female, it is the breast cancer. Even among them, I have some friends, my friends' wives and other sisters like that, and both sexes. Then you have the liver cancer. Liver cancer can be due to anything, not necessarily be due to alcohol, many other things. Even you are taking drugs. For everything now you go to your doctor, he will prescribe you almost 1 kilogram of drugs. Whether you need it or not, doctor will tell you, take the drug. Morning, afternoon, evening. By the time you are finished, your whole body is now loaded with these drugs. Then you have the non-hard skin lymphoma. Then you have the colon rectal, then pancreatic. Practically, you can see that every organ is susceptible for cancer. And some of the things are more specific to women, some of them are specific to men. You can see that there is no way we can avoid. Then the risk factors for breast cancer is again become so popular. Practically, you find, I have seen myself in Nigeria, my colleagues, former vice chancellor's wife died of breast cancer. Another friend's wife in Abuja, she died of breast cancer. So we can hear quite a lot of cases. You can see that again there are so many factors. Sometimes you can live with cancer for a long time. That depends on your stamina, your immunity, but you cannot be guaranteed. A friend of mine I saw in UI, he is retired, he went back to live with the children. One day he phoned everybody, all his friends. He said, I am now diagnosed with cancer, and my doctors tell me that I cannot live more than 3 months. He called everyone and talked to them that I am dying. So you can imagine that. So to that extent now cancer is, we can diagnose all right, but we have no cure. That is where we are. Then risk factors for cancer, you can see all these. Aging is one thing, tobacco, practically everywhere now tobacco plays a role. And yet no government is dare to ban it. When British American Tobacco Company came to Ibadan, there was a lot of uproar. Many of the NGOs, they wanted to ban it. But then government, no, they cannot do that. Because they belong to multinationals and they bring a lot of revenue to the government. So naturally, we are living with the sources of cancer-causing chemicals, cancer-causing habits. Then you have the sun exposure, radiation, chemicals, then certain hormones. Hormones, again, when we are talking about, hormones we all produce. Men produce, women produce, different types. But then, suppose now you are urinating or you are taking your bath, some hormones from your body are washed into the drain and they get into the river, and the same river water is now treated and supplied back to you. What is happening to the hormone? The type of treatment we are giving to the waters, we are not removing any of these. All this treatment in Nigeria today is simple, conventional. When you say conventional, you take the water, you aerate it, you put alum, you filter it, you put some chlorine and give it. Now another big problem is coming up now, chlorine. When you are drinking water treated with chlorine from your childhood to the adulthood, how much of chlorine you are ingesting, trace quantities. Now that is why now if you go to abroad, Europe or US and other countries, they are no longer using chlorine to disinfect the water. Now they are using ozone. Ozone is safer. But in the developing countries, we cannot afford it. Because more expensive, you need to produce, their technology is a bit not reachable. So there are simple things like that. Then alcohol, poor diet. Poor diet is again another big problem. We all think that we are eating well. Tell me, almost like 80 to 90% we don't eat well. I know, you look at the children when they are going to school. What kind of food? Mothers don't give any food. They expect them to buy something in the market and then eat something. And when you look at the food vendor, what she's supplying to the children is very, very pitiable. One thing is hygiene part of the food, and second is quantity. And again, the type of food they are eating. A lot of carbohydrates every day, gari, eba, and no protein. Even if you give a protein, a small piece of fish or maybe a small piece of meat, very small. For a growing child, it's not enough. So when you have got poor diet, any of these kind of cancers, they can easily pounce on you. It is not easy to control. If you have more stamina and immunity, you can control them. Otherwise, you cannot do that. Now, how do you know that you are suffering from cancer? That is where you have to learn some symptoms, signs. Change in bowel movement, a sore that does not heal, unusual bleeding, thickening of lump of the breast, indigestion or difficulty in swallowing, obvious change in a wart or mole, then nagging cough or hoarseness. These are some of the signals. You may not need to go to doctor immediately. Once you feel that they are persistent in you, then you are forced to go to the doctor. Doctor will make another test or other tests, and then they confirm that, yeah, you have a problem. That is how we are able to